Folks, welcome back to another episode of the GetWired podcast. Now, in these episodes, all essentially I do is I'm sitting here and I'm cutting wire. So part of the e-waste business, I get excess wire. I get to keep that wire. It's kind of like a complimentary goodie of the service that I'm providing. But I have to process it. And usually when processing, I'm really just cutting off the ends just because it means I can get a little bit more per kilo. And that just goes into a big bin. We're actually nearly finished this bin of cable, so I haven't wanged that yet, but we're going to continue through this today. And while I do this, I thought such a great way to be able to spend the same amount of time doing it is talk about a topic that's relevant to business, to reselling, and all those great things. And we've done a few episodes now. Feedback's been really great, but it's kind of like a work with me session. This will probably be about 30 minutes or so. And, we're going to spend some time here and chat about a topic. And I did reach out to all of you guys and say, hey, look, if you've got any topics, if you've got things that you want me to chat about, do let me know. And there was a great bunch of questions or suggestions that came through from the Rainer, and I really appreciate that long list. Some really detailed questions or topics. But today's focus, I think it's going to be the role of mentors or mentorships when it comes to building a business or your career, or maybe even reselling. And I think it's such an important conversation, and one which can be broken up into different tiers of conversation and relevancy of depending on where you are in your journey, whether it be career or business or reselling even. So that's what we're going to chat about today. And if you've got questions or if you've got ideas around all this, please drop a comment below. More than happy to continue the conversation. And we will charge on, right? It's actually been really, really cold. I'm all rubbed up today. Got back from the Philippines and Singapore, coming from like 34 sweaty weather, and now come back to Melbourne and it's like being 2 degrees in the mornings. It's been a bit of a wake up call, if you ask me, but it's okay. We're charging through. So the topic today, as I said, around mentors and what that would. Now, I think, from a broad perspective, I think having mentors is really important, and that can look in so many different ways, like just in life, as you grow up, there's people that we tend to aspire to be like, or we get inspiration from, and subconsciously they are mentors because we don't know anything. We don't necessarily talk to them and say, hey, can you mentor me? It's more the fact that, we look upon them and we see, wow, they're amazing, and we learn from them. Just passively, naturally, because that's who we look up to. And that's probably the first experience that we'll have of having mentors. You don't even realize it. But I think as we start to grow up, mature, and, become responsible individuals, but usually as soon as we start to want to attune ourselves to something or find some level of greatness in something, it could be sport, could be just with studies, could be with anything, that's when we start to look for help. And generally, we, by nature, we tend to flock to our parents first, or an older sibling, or someone that is doing it, maybe a teacher. And, we ask for guidance. And that's, in the sense, it's kind of like a role of a tutor or a teacher, or someone that's just willing to support. And that's really our first experience of what a mentor would be. So I think, wherever you are in the journey, you've probably had a mentor and not realized it. But I think when we separate that kind of tier of like unknowingly having mentors, it's probably important to then become consciously, I guess, intentionally looking for a mentor. And this is going to be different for everyone. And I've struggled with asking for help all my life. I tend to just get stubborn and like to do things myself and figure it out. But at the same time, there is people in my life, and I've got mentors, whether they see it as a mentor, whether they know that they're a mentor, or people just that's been there for accountability. They've been absolutely crucial to enable me to become a better version of myself. There's nothing wrong in asking for help. I mean, when we ask for help, it enables us to get like a cheat code and get ahead, right? But I think the really important thing I need actually this cable. Oh no, it's until I've been cut. When we are looking at mentors, I think it's really important to make sure that the person that is mentoring you, this is where the change kind of comes in, is make sure that they actually want to mentor you. So that's the difference between, us being inspired and motivated by someone and not knowing that we influence someone else, opposed to there's people out there that, when they know that they're going to be your mentor, they're actually going to go out of the way to make sure you're getting all the information and inputs that you need to be able to thrive. And I've tend to find that people that take on others as their mentees, it's either because they see the value in doing so. It might be for their own purpose because they want to help others. Maybe they've looked down and they see the person that they want to mentor, an example of themselves back when they first started. And that's why they wish they could help them, because they see that potential. They're encouraged and inspired by that person and their ambition. And they want to help that person. So it's really important that if you are bringing on a mentor, like intentionally, that they too have the intention to help you thrive. Because there's nothing worse than having a mentor that's forced into a role because they're not really going to give you the best bang for buck. I always find in these episodes, because I'm concentrating at 2 levels, like physically, mentally, and talking to you, it makes me sleepy because I'm really, really focusing. Okay, so I think one thing that I learned early on when it came to mentors is when I was working in professional services as a project manager. In that industry, you get a career counselor, and basically you just get assigned someone that's just the role that as a manager or above, you have to have a counselee. And I had counselors of my own, and I also, was counseled by someone that was ahead of it. Usually they had to be a level above you, but ideally the higher level sometimes could be better because you're getting better experience, exposure, in the time that you spend with them. Sometimes it's also bad because they're too busy and they don't give you the time that you really want. So it is a bit of a fine craft to finding the mentor that works for you. But, for me, it was really important because they really, as I said before, they kind of help you unlock cheat codes in terms of they've gone through the experience, they know what works, what doesn't work, and they want to make sure that you're not now going to go through the same mistakes that they make. It's kind of like me documenting my journey. I'm documenting my journey. It's not actually for someone to come and literally do the same as me, but it's more so that, if you are going to do something of the similar nature, you can see, hey, what has worked and what isn't working for me, and therefore you can avoid making those same mistakes. And that's essentially the role of the mentor. You can go to them for advice. You can go to them for when you get in a sticky situation. How do you go about doing something? And bringing on a mentor is really important. Now, I will say this. I've been approached multiple times if I can be a mentor, I can help people with reselling. I don't, and to this date, I haven't really done it. I'm in the talks of doing it with some people. I don't like doing it because I don't want to become this reliability that someone builds the basis of their business off. And it's also probably some own personal issues and just insecurities or whatever, is those kind of things. I don't like being associated with that. However, I genuinely do like helping people. I have my fairly lifestyle podcast and I want to see other people thrive, but I want to see other people thrive by them doing the work. But what I've realized is as I've progressed myself, I would not have gotten where I am today if it wasn't for getting help from other people. So and there is this super important role that we need to take on in terms of having someone there to help us learn, grow, get ahead. Now, they're not going to do the work for you. Essentially, all they're going to do is give you, they're going to help you question, what is the next step I need to take? They're there to guide you, they're to give you the support and comfort that you may need in order to make a decision for your next step. Because it can be overwhelming when it's, when you start to learn and when you start to grow, you are literally the blind leading the blind because you don't know what you don't know. And for me, I don't mind figuring that out and doing the research to figure that out. But when you have someone that there's to support you, they're there to help you work through the rationale, work through the questions that you have, work through maybe the events that you have, work through maybe the struggles you're finding while trying to do that. Now, one of my best mates, Cameron, I originally used to teach Cameron drums when he was young. I was his drum teacher. And then from that, his parents asked, because I'm a bit older than Cameron, like 10 years older. And his parents asked, would I be able to come on as a bit of a mentor for Cameron and just help him with his studies, just life and all these different things. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And that's how we became really good mates, because I'm no longer, I'm his mentor. I help him with things that he has requests for, but he's now kind of like a little brother to me. But over the years, they've developed. And even today, like there's things that I'm helping him with. And if I can help him, I'll give him my guidance on it because I've got experience with it. But that's not, us sitting down for a mentor session. That's me just genuinely helping him out. But the role of a mentor is you want to have someone that obviously isn't going to, you don't want them to be too emotionally attached to you, I find, because you want them to be objective. You want them to be able to give you an honest answer. Sometimes friends and family are great, but sometimes they don't tell you what you need to hear, right? They only tell you what you want to hear, or they don't want to make you uncomfortable, so they beat around the bush. So it's super important to find someone that's going to respect you enough to be able to tell you how it is, because that means you're actually going to get the value out of the mentorship. But it's super important. Now, how do you go about finding a mentor? How do you even look for one? That's a great question. Me, naturally, I have never gone looking for a mentor. At work, obviously, I was assigned one. When it came to reselling, someone offered to, do you want our support? That was Two Aussie Thrifters when I first started. They kind of came on as a kind of building role, and they kept me honest in trying to scale up and level up. But, there were so many people that I looked upon when I was drumming, and they don't know that they were mentors to me because I was just watching their content and getting inspiration and motivation and then figuring it out myself. But then I've got other people in my life who, again, we haven't agreed that you're my mentor, let's meet up once a month or let's have a chat. But to me, they're my mentor because they know, and they've offered anytime in a chat, anytime you need some help or anything like that, reach out, let's have a chat, right? Because they genuinely want to help me. If they don't know, they're going to tell me they don't know, right? But they're going to be able to, a lot of the time they're just listening to me vent, talk about what I'm experiencing, and then playing that back of, have I thought about this? Or maybe I'm just overthinking things and all that kind of understanding. And I think that's super important because, especially for me doing this, I get stuck in my head. Like I overanalyze things a lot. And having someone there that can give me some level of guidance to understand that, hey, it's okay. You've got this. You just need to slow down a little bit, or you just need to change the way you do this, or whatever it may be. That outside perspective has been game changing for me. And I think it's really important that if you can find someone that does that and is willing to do that for you, then you should do it. Now, this is not a video to say, hey, look, I want to mentor people, sign up here. No, that's not what I'm doing. If you need mentorship, there's people that provide that, but it becomes a little bit controversial. And I know this is a topic that has, kind of challenged the reselling world a lot, that there's people offering mentorship for a certain amount of money and things like that, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I do find that there's people, like I've had business coaching in the past. That wasn't a role of a mentor, it was business coaching. So I specifically paid for services that was going to help me work through a whole bunch of different things. And that was probably one of the best expenses that I had. Because it helped me get through a lot of things, helped me actually take on the clothing element of the business, and it changed my business forever. But if I had listened to people saying, oh, this stuff's a gimmick, it's not worth doing, well, then I probably wouldn't have got to where I am. Now, that wasn't specific to reselling. It was just someone that had a business coach. And really, we just spoke about working through my own insecurities, the problems that I have, and getting over myself, and actually just what's stopping me from taking action. And I can understand why people don't like coaches, because it seems like snake oil, because all they're doing is really helping you figure out what the next decision is. And it seems like a way, but we don't know what we don't know. Right? And I try to be very open on this channel and share everything that I can to help you get ahead, but I still get a lot of questions of some of the most basic things, which, maybe the individual hasn't gone and actually researched themselves, but sometimes they're just overwhelmed. They don't know how to start. And sometimes the simplest questions are the hardest questions for people to ask or to find, because they literally don't know. And look, I'm not trying to say here I am tooting my own horn because I have all these things figured out. But me, naturally, I like to go figure things out and figure it out for myself, and then, learn from that process. Whereas, look, if you can ask someone and they're going to give you the result and it's going to save you in 30 minutes, then why wouldn't you do that, right? If you could pay $1,000 and it gets you 1 year ahead, why would you not do that, right? And sometimes it comes down to pride. Sometimes it comes down to issues with authority figures, probably a whole bunch of things. But, that's the stuff you got to work through, right? I mean, for me, doing when I was coached, working through my perception of money and the perception of other people and all these different things. So you got to really start to take the time and understand how much that devalues your ability to execute. And, that was really important for me. Anyway, I digress. So, if you're looking for a mentor, I would highly recommend finding someone that genuinely wants to do it for you, and they're doing it for the right reasons. If there's someone that is potentially just saying, hey, anyone can sign up, I will mentor you, this is how much you're going to pay me, let's do it. That's a business model, all right? There's nothing wrong with that, but it is a business model. But I think if someone comes to you and you're not actually mentoring people, and someone comes to you and says, hey, look, I love what you do, I see what you do, I'm inspired by what you do, I would love to see if you will be my mentor. I think that's a really great honor. That's really, even when people have asked me, it makes you think, wow, you want me to help you? Who am I? But clearly they see something that they resonate with, and that probably means that you're the best person in their mind that's going to help them get to where they're going to be. And you don't get to make that decision for them. I mean, you can say no, of course, but they're making that decision for themselves because they think it's the best decision for themselves. So you've got to look at it from that perspective. But that's people if they come to me. If you're wanting to learn, and if there is someone that is inspired by you, ask them. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me, and usually the first thing that I do is I challenge them on it, right? Understanding what they really want, understand what that expectation looks like. It was super hot. I'm just going to take my jacket off. Understand what that expectation looks like, and understand, is this going to be a mutual thing, or can I actually fulfill that? Can I actually meet those needs that you're looking for? And making sure that the whole thing, making sure that I'm actually not overcommitting as well, because if I'm going to do something like that, I want to make sure that I can actually deliver. And, it comes down to a reputation. So if I'm looking for a mentor, I'm going to be looking for someone that, one, is willing to give me the time, and that they genuinely want to see me succeed, right? And that can be tough because everyone's busy, everyone's got their own problem. There's people that are happy to do this because, that's the type of personality, that's the type of person they are. But not everyone's going to want to do that. And you need to have that open conversation, and you just got to ask. All right. Now, there was probably going to be a likely chance that they'll say, hey, look, yeah, sure, let's do it, but you got to pay me. And if there's a payment issue here, if you're not willing to pay someone for their time to give you cheat codes of 10 years experience in an hour session, and you're not willing to pay for that, I think that's very unfair, because they've worked their entire life to be able to achieve what they've achieved. And now you want all of that for free, but you don't want to do any of the work. There's got to be some level of compensation there, right? Now, I genuinely, like I said, I don't like advertising saying, hey, look, I'm going to do mentorship, pay me and I'll do this. But if I'm going to, I have done this in fact. I ran a 6-week level up course, and, it was, I think, $600 or $400 or whatever. And a lot of people, I got a lot of pushback on that, because they thought I was just, kind of screwing people over. But And the people that had the biggest conflicts with it were the people that didn't need it because they were already capable of achieving what I was offering by themselves, right? But that doesn't mean I shouldn't do it for the people that do need it, right? Like, just because you don't need something doesn't mean what I'm offering is wrong. It's just not right for you. And there are people genuinely that are willing to pay money to be able to get ahead. Those people can be taken advantage of, though. There's a lot of people that will, sell courses on courses on courses, and you sign up for this one, you sign up for that one, and genuinely keep just having you buy. But you've got to look at it. If those people are leveling up, if those people are getting ahead, if those people are achieving the value they want to achieve out of it, then is it not worth it? And is it really a scam? No. I think it's really important, right? I mean, we go to university. Not everyone does, and that's fine. But, we're happy to pay money to university to get taught how to do something, and then we go out and use that skill to then go make more money. We're comfortable spending $30,000, $50,000 on degrees, but why aren't we comfortable spending $500 for, a 3-hour session or something? If it means that you're going to get ahead. I don't know, it's me. But anyway, I think it is really important that no matter what you do, you need to find people that are going to help you get ahead, because you don't know what you don't know. Even some of the greatest leaders out there still have coaches, still have people helping them move through that next level of them becoming to that next level. Everywhere we see it. And it's very common in business world. It's very common in corporate culture as well. But I think it comes down to basics. We're all training to be an Olympic athlete. People have coaches. People have mentors. People have people that are there pushing you and driving you along and helping you get the most value out of yourself, because they're capable to see that and they want to see you thrive. Maybe they get something out of it too. But why can't we leverage other people to help us get what we want, especially if it's a mutual agreement? So to answer the question, or to answer the topic, I think it's super important to have. But there comes a point in time where it's necessary. There comes a point in times where it's, maybe optional. But I think we would be stupid to think that we can figure everything out ourselves, because none of us are perfect. None of us have this all figured out, and none of us are able to do all these things perfectly. Right? No one is perfect. So you got to have an open mind and be willing to get feedback from someone else. I struggle with feedback. I don't like getting feedback because it makes me have to deal with things that maybe I'm not comfortable with. But feedback is crucial. And that's why having a mentor and someone that you already respect, when they tell it to you, you can take it on with an open mind. If you don't have a relationship with someone and all of a sudden they start criticizing you or providing you feedback, and it might come across as criticism to you because you don't know who they are. You know nothing about them, and here they are saying, "Oh, you need to stop doing this because it's not worth your time." It's like, I don't need you to tell me what's worth my time. Like, there's no mutual respect. But when there is a mutual respect between two individuals, especially if you're paying money, somewhat, you're going to listen to them because you want to make sure you're getting the most of what you've paid for, right? But you can generally then have a better understanding of where they're coming from because you have an understanding that their intention is only to help you. Again, that can be manipulated and can be abused. But I'm talking in a relatively good understanding world of this. That let's assume that you are getting used in this case. And again, people do this stuff for a living. People do it as a business model, coaching, helping, mentoring, accountability coaching. We've done that. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't have a problem with it. What I do have a problem with is when people box everyone under that same mentality and then say that, you're trying to scam people. I'm not trying to scam people. I mean, I try and offer as much openness on this account and, channel and podcast to help people achieve what they want to achieve. But there is that next level of tactical advice or tactical support that you can get from other people. And sometimes it's just working through their own issues of what they need to do to take the next step. And having someone to help you work through that is very beneficial. And as I said, it was probably the best thing that I did when I paid for business coaching. And having it in my career when I was working in consulting, and talking to someone and being able to get that, I guess it's like a glimpse into what the future could look like, because, maybe I'm inspired to be like them, and, maybe they were a managing director and you wanted to, level up like they did, and how did they do it? What should I do? It's how you learn the ropes, right? When we learn anything, we need to find a source of information that teaches us and educates us. That can be through textbooks. It can be through people. It can be through a bunch of people. It can be through the best person that knows how to do that. It could be a trainer. It could be all these different ways of sources of actually becoming educated. And a mentor has a role in all of that, I think is really important. I look at my previous bosses, the ones that I had really good relationships with, I look at them as mentors now. And there's still people now that I reflect back on and think, what would they do? What would they tell me at this point in time? How would they handle this situation? What did they teach me about this situation? And there's been so many times I've come back to moments where I didn't realize the influence they had at the time that has impacted me 5 years later. And I had this conversation with Carl at the time because we used to work for the same boss. And, I'd say, remember when, this individual used to say this? That's so relevant now. How would they handle that? What would they be telling us to do right now? And we both look at each other and think, so, at the point in time when they shared that with us, it wasn't relevant because we weren't experiencing it in our life. But now you get to a situation you think, oh my goodness, they were so right. And it becomes so relevant. So mentorship isn't necessarily about in the moment. It's about things that will come up later in your journey, and you will realize, oh my gosh, now I understand why people hyped on about that. It's like when you're a kid, and the parents say, don't do this, or you shouldn't do that. And you think, oh, this is annoying. Why can't I do that? And like when you're an adult, you'll understand. And sometimes it takes longer than you expect. But then one day something occurs and you think, oh my gosh, now I know why my parents used to say this, because you're saying exactly the same thing to your kids or to the kids or to a younger generation. And you realize it's hindsight, right? And then you appreciate the importance of people helping you. Now, sometimes that the way they've called about and sharing, oh, you shouldn't do this with no context, you think this is ridiculous. But then when you look back, you can understand the context at a greater perspective, right? And then you can really start to grasp why it was so important. And that is beautiful in that sense, because there's been so many moments where I realized I can now do this because I was willing to get help from someone. I was willing to ask, and they shared it with me, even though in the moment of that sharing, I might not have thought it was valuable. But now I can look back and think, I am so grateful that that person spent the 5 minutes to tell me about this situation. Because of that, I'm able to make a decision more effectively. I can be productive, or I can do it with confidence because I understand how to work with that situation because someone spent the time to talk me through it. And I think that's why it's so important that, whether you're doing a career, whether you're doing business, whether you're doing reselling, whether you're wanting to train for a sport, whether you're trying to do anything, finding someone that can help you get to that next level. They're not there to necessarily pull you up a ladder. They're there to help you up a ladder, right? They're the support. If you go bowling, sometimes we need to use those guardrails. That's all they're there for, is to help you get things aligned, help you get things in flow. And it doesn't mean that you need to have this mentor for the rest of your life. You might grow out of them and then you move on to someone else, right? And I think mentors understand that. They're ready to let you go and thrive and fly and, become better than themselves. And that will make them happy. I guarantee that will make them happy. So that's my thoughts on all this. I think it's a really important thing to consider. I would, make sure that if you are thinking about getting a mentor, make sure it's done for the right reasons between the mutual individuals, yourself and the person that's mentoring you. Find people that are willing to do it, have time and that can dedicate time to you, because it's really important. And please, this is not a episode of saying, hey, I'm here to do mentors for you, reach out, because look, I'll probably say no. And because I'm not at that capacity where I can spend that time doing it. And if I'm going to help other people, I want to make sure I can dedicate that time. But that's why I have my podcast. That's why I do these videos. That's why I do all these things, because that's my way to try and help people. But if you've got questions, I'm always willing to answer. If you need help, I will do my best to help. But if you're wanting one-on-one time, look, there is some people that I have done that with and doing that with, but it's not something that I'm publicly saying, reach out and let's make it happen. It's because I don't think it's fair if I can't give you what you want in terms of my attention and time. Maybe down the track I can, but at this point in time, it's something I can't offer. But I'll continue to try and give you as much input and detail through questions and answers and conversations and all those different things. So that's me. Appreciate you being here. It's been another 30 minutes of work with me. Done a fair bit actually. That is actually nearly full, so I can nearly take that in. I'll probably wait till I get the other bin full as well. But good to get through that. Appreciate you being here. Let me know what you thought. If you've got any comments, chuck them down below. I'm more than happy to continue the conversation. I'll have more of these coming out soon. And yeah, appreciate you all. And we'll be back here doing it all again soon enough. Thanks again for all the topic ideas. But if you've got a topic idea, let me know, and I'll see if I can bring it together.